All right, there we are. Welcome everybody. This cold, very cold Friday afternoon. How about you guys? I like that 70-degree day that we had 2 days ago and the sun was out. And then yesterday it started snowing. Felt kind of defeated yesterday. Was not what I wanted to see happen, but hey, it's Michigan. That happens. So how's everybody doing today? Glad everybody's finding the stream. See that a couple of you are already in there, so hello to you guys. Hopefully this finds that your Friday is going good so far. I know, Zeke, you've been having your mom send me a lot of photos on Dojo. I am being very entertained seeing that some been making some very practical tools for you to use. At least it's keeping you occupied. Glad to see that you haven't lost your love for creating and constructing things. Also, I love the new hairstyle that you got. Seems very practical considering none of us can go see the barber right now, considering that we are all in quarantine and all on lockdown. I know you guys probably can't tell now, but I'm sporting a shorter haircut than normally have. I think now my hair is about the length that it normally is when I go get a haircut, but I got a haircut a few weeks ago and I told my barber, you need to buzz it short. I need it as short as you can make it. And he kind of laughed at me at first. He's like, are you sure you want me to shave your head? Like, you really want me to get the clippers and just go? And I'm like, yeah. If I'm going to be stuck in my home in quarantine, the last thing I want to worry about is, my hair looking odd because it's long and it looks messy and I can't do anything with it. But go figure. That seems to be the style that all the gentlemen are doing now. All the guys are getting their hair buzzed short so they don't got to worry about it. I think they call it the Corona cut now. First time ever in my life that I'm actually ahead of the curve and actually on style. So that was that kind of brought a smile to my face. Usually I am behind the styles and times, and for once I'm on point with what's current. Except unfortunately now I'm looking around on Amazon for some hair clippers, and because I'm thinking about in a month or so I'm going to have to shave my head again. And with the way things are going right now, I feel like we're all going to be stuck in our homes for a while yet. So glad to see some of you guys are keeping yourselves entertained. Some of you guys are doing art projects. If any of you guys are doing an art project and you haven't shared it with me, I would love to see it, whether you share it on Dojo or if you're parents or friends with my teacher page, you guys could post it on my wall there if you want. Dojo, I tend to check more. If you guys want to post it like in the class story, you could do that. Or message me a picture like Zeke's been doing with his mom, sending me photos and whatnot, what you guys have been up to. So I've been finding it very entertaining, and I am glad that many of you guys are keeping yourselves busy in these very, very weird times that we're living in. Are you guys enjoying the book? I am really enjoying Spy Ski School. It's been very entertaining and very funny. I find that of all the Spy School books I've read you guys so far this year, this one definitely seems to be the funniest one. I particularly like it that Erica seems to be finally coming to the full realization that she is human and that she has feelings. But very much like if you guys have watched Star Trek, any iteration of Star Trek, the character of Spock, the Vulcan, who is he's half Vulcan, half human. And in the Vulcan tradition, Vulcans aren't supposed to give in to their emotions. They kind of have learned to suppress them. And Spock always has a hard time doing this because he's not fully Vulcan. He is human, so therefore he still feels certain human emotions, but they're strange for him, and he has a hard time kind of sometimes processing and kind of having to come to terms with his human half. Or in Star Trek: The Next Generation, there's the android character Data, who is a robot android that has no feelings, but yet he's programmed to strive to become more human himself, and he's always kind of at a loss at being able to recognize emotion and the meaning, especially with humor. But he sometimes doesn't understand it, doesn't understand why people find certain things funny and then other things people don't find funny. So I've been finding that interesting, that Erica is having to come to terms with her feelings. I also kind of like that Ben is still Ben in this book. He is still very much, he is learning more about himself, and I think he's going to be a capable spy. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, he's had a few gaffes here and there, especially with the whole Mike situation. I think Cyrus, Erica's grandfather, very much like Erica, yes, he is the best spy in the room and is the smartest person in the room, but his people skills are lacking. He very much knows that he's better than everyone else in the room, and therefore he thinks he knows better, and doesn't really acknowledge when, anyone else has something worthwhile to contribute or is just as capable as he is. So I find that we're kind of at an interesting spot in the book where kind of the whole team, the whole gang kind of feels like, they're upset at Cyrus, and they're upset on how things are going, that the mission seems to be kind of going sideways on them. And we kind of left on a cliffhanger yesterday with a couple of our friends that were sent to ski school as punishment for how things have been going, because they have no concrete evidence of what Liu Shang is up to, other than that he is suspicious. And the steel tube case that Ben saw when Cyrus broke into Liu Shang's suite, it was stuffed with dirty underwear. It didn't have, what Ben might thought, recalling from his previous experience with Spider, that Spider used those cases to store and transport nuclear missiles. There were no missiles in there. And Warren has turned into a big jerk. He is just having a ball that Ben is having a rough go on this mission, and he is just, loving nothing more than, rub Ben's nose in it. And we kind of left the gang on top of the mountain with a helicopter barreling down on them, the heli-skiing helicopter, and it started shooting at them. And that's where I ended the book. Sure, a lot of you guys were like, Mr. G, why did you end it there? You need to read another chapter. Well, there's a reason why I ended it there, because I wanted you guys to come back today. So, we're going to pick up with the next chapter. We'll see what happens to our heroes, as, they are in a very precarious situation. It is not a safe situation, and there's not a whole lot of places they can go for cover. So, Chapter 17, Sneak Attack. Luckily for us, there's a small control room at the top of the ski lift. Our chairs moved behind it just in time. The bullets ricocheted off of it and shattered the windows, but they didn't reach us. Still, the control room wasn't much protection, especially since it shielded us from only one direction. Unfortunately, there wasn't much cover on the mountaintop. Only a small stand of trees 50 feet away. Ahead of us, Erica and Zoe's chair arrived at the end of the lift. The two of them leapt off of it and raced for the trees. The helicopter roared over our heads so low that the wind from its rotors pushed down on us like an open hand. My chair reached the end of the lift, and Woodchuck, Warren, and I sprang off of it, pulling as hard as we could after the girls. Thankfully, there weren't any other skiers on the mountaintop at the moment. What few were around had already started down the slopes and were well clear of the gunfire, which only left us to serve as targets. And as targets went, we were awfully good ones. We were now right out in the open. If the stand of trees had been downhill from us, we could have at least skied to it quickly. Instead, we had to cross flat ground. That wasn't easy on skis, especially with 2 feet of new snow piled up. We all had to go with a combination of pushing with our poles and galloping along on our skis, which was like trying to sprint with 2x4s nailed to your shoes. In addition, we were at one of the highest peaks at the ski resort, nearly 2 miles above sea level. So the altitude was taking its toll on Warren, Zoe, and me. So they are 2 miles above sea level. They're pretty high up in the air. This is a pretty tall mountain, and as been discovered, the higher up you are, the less oxygen you have. So it's harder to breathe if you are not accustomed to it, especially if you're doing something physically exertive as skiing. So it makes sense that Warren, Zoe, and Ben are now having a hard time breathing because they're not used to it. I felt like I could barely breathe in the thin air, and our progress was agonizingly slow. To the east, a helicopter banked, coming around for another attack. "We're screwed," Warren cried. "We are sitting ptarmigans out here." "Ptarmigans?" Woodchuck asked. "Don't get him started," I gasped. Remember, because there are no ducks here. So they're ptarmigans, as Warren is continuously reminding people. I pushed on my poles as hard as I could, straining with every ounce of strength, racing for the safety of the trees. Zoe and Warren did the same. Even though both were beginners, in the heat of the moment, they were handling themselves well. Woodchuck was right behind us. However, Erica suddenly veered off away from the trees, out into the open. "What are you doing?" I yelled. "Saving your butts," she yelled back. "Get yourselves to cover." The helicopter was coming back and moving quickly toward us again. I now saw what Erica was heading for. A snowcat that was parked at the edge of the snowfield. It was a large vehicle with treads instead of tires, used to groom snow and do other maintenance around the resort. This one had a trailer hitch to the back, also with treads instead of wheels, and on top that sat on the ski patrol's avalanche howitzers. Erica didn't have time to get there, though. The only shelter between her and it was a lone outhouse set on top of the mountain, since it was several miles to the closest real bathroom. Erica popped off her skis and dove in as the helicopter opened fire once again. The bullets shredded the tiny building, then raced across the snowy plain toward us, leaving a trail of tiny geysers. We reached the safety of the trees just in time. The bullets ricocheted off the trunks, snapping branches and annihilating pine cones. The helicopter roared overhead again. "Ben!" someone yelled. I peered out from the trees and saw Mike Berzaninski getting off of the ski lift. The helicopter hadn't been aiming for him, but he'd seen the attack. His face was now whiter than snow, the snow around us, and his eyes were wide with something I had never seen him show before: fear. "Mike!" I yelled back. "Get away from us before they come back." But Mike was too frightened to listen to me. After all, heading out on the slopes would mean staying in the open, while the trees looked like safety. He kept pushing toward us. Meanwhile, Warren wasn't looking too good. He turned green with nausea. "They almost got me," he gasped. Then he bent over and threw up. "Wow," Zoe said, unimpressed. "Way to handle yourself in the heat of the battle." "It's my first time," Warren whined. "I've never been shot at before, not with real bullets." "Neither have I," Zoe said, "and you don't see me up chucking my breakfast." The helicopter banked again, preparing for a third attack. Erica was back on the move again, racing for the howitzer. Mike reached the cover of the trees in record time. He was panting heavily, completely shell-shocked with fear. "You need to get out of here," I told him. "Away from me." No way, he argued. I'm not going out in the open. There's a maniac shooting from a helicopter out there. That maniac is shooting at us, I told him. As long as you're with us, you're in danger. At you? Mike asked incredulous. Why would someone be shooting at you? There didn't seem to be much point in lying to him anymore. Well, it's like you guessed, I'm a spy. Warren once again threw up. The helicopter swooped back toward us. We tried to maneuver around in the trees, putting the trunks between us and it. You're a spy? Mike gasped. Why do you sound so surprised? I asked. You accused me of being one the other day. I know, but I didn't think you were a real spy, Mike exclaimed. I thought you were just doing training and stuff. This is insane. He pointed at the incoming helicopter. Those people are trying to kill you. Yeah, that happens a lot, I said. The helicopter had changed its style of attack. Now, rather than racing over our heads, it approached slowly, then hovered right outside our stand of trees, searching for a gap to shoot through. It was close enough that I could see one of Leo Shang's thugs at the controls. Meanwhile, Dane Bramage sat on the open door, brandishing a machine gun. He found the gap between us, lifted the gun to his shoulder, and took aim at me. I saw him smile as thought he was going to enjoy killing me. And then Erica fired the howitzer. That's a cannon, by the way, for those of you that don't know. The charge slammed into the rear of the helicopter, blowing the tail right off of it. The rear rotor careened through the air, slicing through the nearby tree like it was a celery stalk. Mike, Zoe, Warren, Woodchuck, and I were all thrown to the ground by the blast. A hail of pine cones, knocked loose by a concussion, rained down upon us, along with a few startled squirrels. Without its tail, the helicopter spun wildly out of control. Dane was flung from it, like a rag doll, landing in a deep snow in the distance. Excuse me. The pilot desperately tried to get away from the trees. He managed to pull a short distance away, and then wobbled back in. Evasive action, Woodchuck ordered. We were already on the move. Even Mike, without any training at all, grasped that staying put was dangerous. We all raced out one side of the stand of trees just as the helicopter slammed into the other. The big rotors shaved the tops of the few pines, then thwacked into thicker trunks, snapped off of the helicopter and cartwheeled through the air toward the snowcat. Erica leapt from the vehicle, stepped into her skis, and raced away just as the rotors came flying in. With a resounding thunk, they embedded into the snowcap like a lawn dart, and the rest of the helicopter crashed to the ground. The pilot leapt out and scrambled away. Erica met up with us just as the copter exploded. We were pelted by more dislodged pine cones and squirrels. The woods promptly caught fire at the pile of howitzer ammunition that sat on the trailer. Ahead of us, a flimsy rope fence lined the edge of the snowfield right before the slope dropped away steeply. There was a small gate in it, but it had a bright red sign marked with skull and crossbones, informing us that going beyond the gate was leaving the Veiled Resort area and heading into the White River National Forest Wilderness area, which normally would be a very bad idea because there is no way out and there were no rescue services. There was an extreme avalanche danger, and there was a decent chance we could die. Normally, I might have paid attention to a sign like this, but these were extenuating circumstances. Dane Branridge was still alive. In fact, despite being flown from a moving helicopter, he didn't appear to have missed so much as skinned a knee. Apparently, the snowdrift he landed in was not only cushioned his fall, but it also protected his machine gun. Dane snatched it up out of the snow and came right after us. We charged through the gate. The slope beyond it went downhill fast. It was exceptionally steep, wide open, and treeless, far tougher than anything I had attempted before. But we had no other option. We dropped onto the slope as Dane opened fire again. His bullets whistled over our heads. Mike and Woodchuck hit the slope with the most grace, zipping downhill quickly. Warren hit the slope without any grace at all. Instead, he hit the slope with his face, then his backside, then his face again, as he somersaulted down the hill. Zoe and Erica didn't do much better. I managed to stay upright a good way down, and then I rushed and turned and wiped it out myself. Thankfully, the snow on the slope was extremely deep, covering anything that might have been painful to land on, like sharp rocks. With several feet of pillowy softness, I tumbled through it like a sock in a dryer, losing my skis and poles. Then I settled into a more controlled skid down the mountain. To each side of me, Zoe and Erica were doing much of the same, having lost their skis as well. We were basically sledding without sleds, rocketing downhill on our backs with our feet in front of us, carving gouges through the snow. Behind us, Warren was still tumbling, giving a yelp every time he thwacked into the ground. Ouch! Oof! Oh, my nose! Oh! He was gathering snow as he rolled, turning into a giant snowball with arms and legs sticking out of it. That's kind of funny. That reminds me of the movie No, it's not Princess Bride. Willow. If you guys have Disney Plus, Willow is on there. You guys should check out that movie. It's a good movie. Well, one of the scenes is the character. It's not Willow himself. It's the warrior that he's traveling with, named Mad Mardigan. He's rolling down a mountain, and he turns into a big snowball too, and all you can see are arms and legs sticking out. So it's making me think of that scene. So that's pretty funny. Eventually, the slope bottomed out, flattening enough to slow our descent. Mike and Woodchuck each skidded to a stop, panting with exhaustion. Erica, Zoe, and I tumbled into a pile beside them, tangled in the jumble of arms and legs, but unharmed. Warren, however, crashed into a tree. The giant snowball he had become burst on impact. His helmet slammed into the trunk so hard it cracked in half. Thankfully, Warren's skull was protected, but he was knocked loopy from the impact. I want a pony, he muttered, and then collapsed backward into the snow. I ended up underneath both Zoe and Erica. They pried themselves off of me, and we all stared back up at the slope we had just come down. It appeared to be at least 1,000 feet tall. We were at the bottom of a narrow gully, with an equally tall slope boxing us in on the other side. Climbing out again was going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible. And then Dane Bramage appeared at the top of the slope. I saw the sunlight glint off of his gun as he took aim at us once again. Before he could fire, however, the howitzer and all of its munitions exploded, sending a massive fireball. A massive fireball erupted at the top of the hill, blowing Dane over the edge of the cliff. He sailed through the air high above us, his eyes so wide with fear that I could see them even from where I stood. I didn't notice where he landed, though. I was too distracted by the avalanche. Oh no, I really should stop there and let you have to digest a cliffhanger over the weekend, but I'm a nice guy. I'll read chapter 18 to you guys, so that way we get our 2 chapters that I've been normally reading to you guys. So chapter 18, Snow Safety. The explosion of the howitzer had been deafening, and the noise echoed all over the walls of the canyon. A great sheet of snow that had clung to the wall directly above us fractured and groaned. Uh-oh, Woodchuck gasped. That's not good. The snow began to slide, and it hurtled down the mountain toward us roaring like a freight train. Erica, who had just disentangled herself from Zoe and me, leapt back on top of us again. Beside me, I saw Woodchuck doing the same thing to Mike and Warren. Hang on to me, Erica screamed. Even though she was right next to me, I could barely hear her over the oncoming snow. Erica yanked a cord from under her jacket, and a large yellow airbag suddenly inflating from her back. The snow reached us a split second later. With Erica's airbag, we might have been crushed beneath it. Instead, we were buoyed to the top, like a cork floating on water. The snow still threatened to rip Zoe and me away and drag us under, but we clung to Erica with all our might and let the avalanche carry us down the valley. I caught a glimpse of another yellow airbag close by, Woodchuck clutching Mike and Warren, but mostly I just saw a jumble of white snow and blue sky as I was tossed about. It was like riding a tidal wave made of snow. We were traveling at a frightening speed. The sides of the valley were merely a blur as we raced past them. At the front of the wave, just ahead of us, massive trees snapped like toothpicks and vanished into the sea of white. The avalanche lasted only 73 seconds, but it seemed much longer. And then, almost as suddenly as it started, it was over. The avalanche petered out, and we found ourselves well down the canyon from where we had begun, lying on top of a pile of snow, so thick that the tops of the trees were barely poking through. We all lay where we were for a few seconds, spent from the ordeal, and thrilled that after the helicopter attack, tumbling down a steep slope, and an avalanche, we were still alive. Everyone, that is, except for Erica. She quickly hopped to her feet, dusted herself off, and said, "Well, let's get going," as so this sort of thing happened to her every day. "Going where?" Zoe asked. "Down the canyon," Erica said, like it was obvious. "We certainly can't go back the way we came. It would have been tough enough to get back up the slope before the avalanche. For all we know, Dane Bramage is still back there. Guy is ridiculously hard to kill, and I've studied the satellite maps of this area. And I know there's a highway and a small town at the end of this canyon, maybe 5 miles away. If we hurry, it shouldn't take more than a few hours." "Erica's right," Woodchuck said. "If everyone's okay, we really shouldn't dawdle." I stood up, checking my various body parts to make sure they were all still attached and working. I had what felt like several tons of snow down my jacketed pants, which had chilled my nether regions. But other than that, I seemed to be fine. Zoe seemed to be fine as well, although Warren remained pretty loopy. "Guys," he exclaimed, still laying on his back, "these are like perfect conditions for making snow angels." He waggled his arms and legs in the snow to prove it. "We might need to get him to a doctor," Zoe suggested. Mike also looked to be all right, physically at least. Mentally, he was still in shock. He gaped at all of us, trying to make sense of everything. "So, all of you are spies too?" "In training," Zoe said helpfully. "In training," Mike echoed, then shifted his gaze to Erica. "You took out an enemy helicopter with a howitzer." Erica shrugged. "I'm at the top of my class." She unzipped her ski parka to get the snow out of it, revealing the source of the yellow airbag she had inflated. She was wearing the black vest she had swiped from epic heli-skiing. When she noticed me staring at it, she said, "I told you this had avalanche safety precautions built into it." "And you wore it today just in case something like this happened?" I asked. "You know me, I always like to be prepared." Erica pulled her phone out of her pocket and sighed, annoyed. "Ugh, no coverage in this stupid canyon." "We are in the wilderness," Woodchuck pointed out, deflating his airbag. His had come from an avalanche vest as well. I assume that being a survivalist, he probably wore his at all times. I checked my own phone. I didn't have any reception either. Erica then told Woodchuck, "I need to get in touch with my grandfather fast. He needs to know that the Shangs are on to us." "I'll bet he's already aware," Woodchuck. Woodchuck helped Warren to his feet. "That emergency alert we got before the helicopter attack was probably from him. But even so, we need to reestablish contact. There'll be cell reception in the town, so let's move out." He led the way down the valley. Warren wobbled after him. "Are we going for a hike?" he asked Ace. "Cool. I've got some granola bar in bar form." The rest of us dropped in behind Woodchuck, and we worked our way down the canyon. The avalanche zone ended shortly, and the huge pack of snow slipping back down to Earth, we entered a thickly wooded area. Less snow lay at the bottom of the lay on the ground there because it was all caught up in the tops of the trees above. But it was still deep enough to have to trudge through and help. They were painful enough to walk in for short distances. A prolonged march was torture. Plus, now that we were in the shade, the temperatures were dropping like a rock. Everyone be extremely alert for hypothermia and frostbite, Woodchuck warned. Ball your fists inside your gloves and put them in your pockets to keep them warm. And if you have any chills or shivering, let me know immediately so we can stop and warm you up. We all nodded obediently. It surprised me to see Erica following anyone rather than assuming the lead, but she seemed far more concerned about her inability to contact her grandfather than about who was in charge. It occurred to me that she was worried about him, and possibly her father too. I'm sure Cyrus and Alexander are all right, I told her. If anyone can handle himself against the Shangs, it's your grandfather. Well, he couldn't have handled them worse than I did, Erica muttered. What are you talking about? I asked. You blew up their helicopter. If it hadn't been for you, we'd be dead. We'd be learning how to ski. A cold look from Erica stopped me mid-sentence. That was all just a cover, I asked. Erica nodded. Grandpa thought there was a chance they were onto you. Why didn't you tell me then? He thought you might freak out if you knew your life was in danger. I considered that, then nodded in agreement. He was probably right. Only I screwed up, Erica said, livid at herself. I should have been aware the helicopter was coming much earlier. I allowed myself to get distracted. I noticed Zoe grimace at this, feeling bad for being the one who distracted Erica. There wasn't anything you could have done differently, I said. I was directing my words to Erica, but I was really speaking to the both of them. We were on the lift. We couldn't have gotten off any faster than we did. I should never allowed us to come this far toward the wilderness, she said. That was a grave mistake. I was thinking I could keep a better eye on our surroundings if there were fewer people around. It didn't occur to me that there might be an aerial attack. She trailed off, staring at me thoughtfully. Then she said, "Take off your jacket. Now. It's freezing. Take it off." I did and handed it over to her. Erica quickly examined it, working her hands all over the seams and rifling through the pockets. "Ah," she said, and with a flourish she removed a small black square with a curl of wire sticking out of it. "What's that?" Mike asked. "A GPS transmitter," Zoe replied. "They must have planted it on you last night," Erica told me, "while you were bugging them." I groaned, feeling like an idiot. This means they were onto me the entire time. Not necessarily, Erica corrected, but you were definitely getting Dane worked up while you were with Jessica. And that was probably my fault too. I was making you push the boundary, so I'm guessing he tagged you just to be on the safe side. She smashed the transmitter on a rock and then threw my jacket back to me. I quickly zipped it back up. "There's one other possibility," Zoe suggested to me. "Maybe Shang doesn't suspect of you being a spy at all. Maybe he just wants to kill you because you hugged his daughter and he's really an overprotective father." As ridiculous as that seemed, I didn't quite discount it. And to my surprise, Erica didn't either. "Maybe," she agreed. But if there was anyone evil enough to want to sentence someone to death for hugging, it'd be Liu Shang. We reached a section where the canyon walls closed in until it was almost claustrophobic. There was little room left on the bank alongside the stream, occasionally forcing us onto the rocks that poked through the water. My heels were starting to blister in my ski boots, and to make matters worse, Warren insisted on singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall. "So," Mike said, "can someone tell me exactly what's going on here?" "No," Erica said, "it's classified." "Ah, come on," Mike pleaded. "I nearly got myself killed because of you guys." Erica gave him a suspicious glance. Come to think of it, how did you end up exactly where we were today? Mike looked away, his usual confidence wavering. I followed you guys. Why? Erica asked. Because of you, Mike told her. I've been calling you, and you never called me back. You gave him your phone number? Zoe asked Erica. Of course not, Erica said tartly. I don't give anyone my real number. For security reasons, I gave him a fake. It caused a CIA dumping box for incoming messages. Ah, Mike said. Well, that explains why I didn't hear back from you. But I wanted to see you again, so I sort of tailed you guys today. Why didn't you just call me? I asked. Well, we left things in a weird place, Mike explained. I thought you were being a dink for lying to me about being a spy. Although, given the helicopter attack and all, I guess you were just trying to protect me. Yes, I said. I had no idea you were on a real mission, Mike replied, with real bad guys and everything. I thought when you were asking for my help with Jessica, you were just trying to date her, not infiltrate some terrorist group. Mike looked away sheepishly. I guess I really screwed things up when I surprised you on the gondola the other day. You did, Erica told him, before I could figure out a nicer way to say it. Mike picked his way across some rocks in a stream and then suddenly looked back at Erica, mouth agape. Oh my God. What now? Erica asked. You're not Sasha Rotko, Mike said. You're Erica. I know that, Erica replied. I mean, you're the Erica, Mike tried to explain. Ben's Erica from school, the one he dated. Erica gave me a pointed look. Zoe burst into a laugh. What are you guys talking about? Ben and Erica never dated. That's not what Ben told me, Mike said. And then he suddenly, wait, is that some sort of cover story? No, Zoe giggled. Just wishful thinking on Ben's part. Oh, a sly smile crept across Mike's face. Wow, Ben, I guess everything you told me about school was a lie. It wasn't a lie exactly, I explained. You misinterpreted something, and it was much easier to let you believe it. Yeah, right, Mike said. Thankfully, before he could tease me anymore, a pair of helicopters roared overhead. They were painted red and heading up the canyon toward the avalanche site. Zoe started waving her arms to flag them down, but Erica stopped her. What are you doing? She demanded. Signaling for help, Zoe said. That's the ski patrol. They could rescue us. For all we know, those are Shang's men, Erica warned. Those are ski patrol helicopters, Mike said helpfully. They're red. Shang's listening in on the patrol's radio. If we get into those copters, the moment we get back to town, we'll be ambushed again. For now, it's better to let everyone think that we're buried in that avalanche. At least that gives us the element of surprise. Right now, we need every advantage we can get. No, Warren said dreamily. No need to be such a gloomy Gus. I say there is, Erica replied. Operation Golden Fist is going down today, but we still have no idea when or where or what the plot even is in the first place. So far, all our mission has done is get us in trouble. We've learned nothing from the Shangs, while we just got caught with our pants down in a surprise attack. We're cut off from our team. We're cold. We're wet. We're a long way from civilization. We still have some granola, though, Warren added enthusiastically. He whipped out the smashed bar to show us, but lost his grip on it. It plucked into the stream and was now quickly swept away. Aw, crud, Warren whined. Now we're screwed. Then we better pick up the pace, Woodchuck advised. The sooner we get out of this canyon, the better. I was already exhausted from the day's adventures, trudging through the wilderness in my ski boots. I could tell Zoe and Warren were struggling too. Even Mike, who was normally a fountain of energy, looked sapped. But we pressed on down the canyon anyhow, going as fast as we could, hoping to get back to civilization again before it was too late to stop the Shangs. All right, guys. That is the end of chapter 18, and I'm going to stop there for today. hopefully you guys like those 2 chapters. They're pretty action-packed. Again, we're kind of leaving our heroes still not in the best of circumstances. They're trapped in the wilderness with no means to reestablish contact with their team yet. And they can't trust anybody in a helicopter that might be able to help them, because who's to say that the Shangs haven't commandeered that or listening in on the radio with the ski patrol. So they still have to march on foot to the local town to look for help. All right. Well, I guess that'll be the end of our stream for today. If you guys, again, have any questions, comments, or concerns, of course, you can send those messages on Dojo. You could also send them to the My Teacher Facebook page. Dojo, like I said at the top of the video, I tend to check that more and have quicker access to. So if you have any questions or comments, you can hit them up there. And if you want to be like Zeke, you can post, your pictures and send them to me of some of the activities that you guys are doing already at home. And in the coming week, once I get some things firmed up and the rest of the teachers I have on, when we have our plan in place, we will be hopefully begin to share with you guys what our distance learning model will look like. I do know that so far we have a pretty good plan that we're still putting together, but we're going to have one in place by next week, and we'll definitely be able to announce that soon. Again, patience will be very much appreciated during this process, as it's going to be new for everybody, for students, families, and the teachers that are having to hobble together, this distance learning and try to make it fit with what we were teaching your students in our classrooms, and trying to present it in a way that would be best not only for the students and for the families to be able to feel confident in supporting. We're all in this together, and I know it's going to be full of challenges, and there's bound to be hiccups. Kind of like when I started live streaming and found out, Facebook Live wasn't very good because I kept cutting out and families weren't getting a good video. So it'll be a process. There'll certainly be things that'll need to be worked out. And I know depending on the day, depending on what's happening in your guys' homes, I know I have responsibilities at my own home that I have to take care of, that, if you only do a couple activities a day, hey, at least you accomplish something. It's not going to be, I know for a fact, it's not going to be like a solid 6 to 7 hours of learning happening. And that's okay. This is all going to be new. And hopefully you guys will get the best education that you can out of it. And I know a lot of you guys are already doing stuff at home. Zeke, I've seen some of your science experiments that your mom has shared with me, and those look pretty cool, especially with that pickle egg one. That looked pretty cool. I would love to see more of those, type of photos being shared with me of things that you guys are doing. Like I said at the top, even if it's like an art project, something creative, a creative outlook to kind of get those creative juices flowing, something that you're producing. I know I'm trying to find time to start drawing myself again, kind of do a drawing a day. Haven't been able to do that as much, as I'm still getting things situated here, as I'm slowly, realizing that I'm probably going to be at home a lot longer than I thought I was going to be, and trying to get myself situated that, that it could be the best situation it can be given the circumstances. And I know that that's something that we're all kind of trying to juggle on top of everything else that's going on. If you guys happen to be reading any stories or books on your own, I would love to hear about that also. I know for a lot of you guys, I shared out to you guys a few weeks ago on top with all the other academic resources that I was sharing with you guys, that I did create student accounts on Epic. And Epic is where you guys can check out books to read, whether it's on the computer, on the tablet. I know, Zeke, you were using it to do audiobooks for like the I Survived series. So that's definitely something that you could do also. So, and if you guys need help with that, or if there's a book that you want assigned to you, shoot me a message and I can go on to Epic and I can assign you a book if that's what you want. If there's a book that you want, or whether it's reading a book or listening to a book, I think either way, that would be most beneficial for you guys, having a story of your own that you guys are working through. In fact, Mr. G's got his book that he's working on himself right now. Yep, Star Wars, Darth Plagueis. Pretty good book so far. Decided that, I wanted a Star Wars story that was kind of off of the beaten track. So not following the heroes of any of the movies that have come out. It's actually following the story of the Sith master that trained Emperor Palpatine, who we know as the big bad of the entire Star Wars saga of movies. So much so that they brought it back for Rise of Skywalker as, kind of like an undead looking thing. But the Emperor, and this follows the Sith Lord that trained him, Darth Plagueis. I'm not quite at the part where that Palpatine shows up. I'm hoping that Palpatine shows up soon, because I would love to see how Palpatine became the politician that he was. It's a pretty cool story that I want to know. So that's one of the books that I picked up personally that I am in my spare time kind of making my way through. So even Mr. G is trying to do some reading while I'm, having to stay home. I'm also in the process of finding activities for you guys to do while we do this distance learning model. And I'm trying to find, some of the best resources I can that I think will be most beneficial to you guys, on top of also being something that you guys could do independently and that we could also have discussions with on Dojo. Those messages that you guys can send me, or even posting in our classroom stories on Dojo, that you guys could post what you guys are doing and what you're learning about. And I would love to see that also. So I'm going to sign off now for today. I will be back on here on Monday. And like I said, still working on that schedule. It's very much dependent on who I'm having to share the Wi-Fi with here where I'm living. Again, one person that I live with, they had to work from home today. So I was trying to find when they're not needing to use the Wi-Fi is when I could use it to come chat with you guys and read to you guys. So it's very much a balancing game. I know some of you guys that have siblings at home, you guys also are going to have to juggle, figuring out how all of you are going to have to do this distance learning thing in the coming weeks. So I know that that's going to be its own thing. So you guys will probably understand what even Mr. G is having to juggle sharing the Wi-Fi in order for everyone that I live with, including myself, all of us to be able to work from home and do the best that we can given these unique circumstances. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. I want to wish you guys a very good and happy rest of your Friday afternoon, and wish you guys to have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully it warms up and hopefully the sun will come back out. I know it's been peeking out on and off today, but it's been kind of overcast. So hopefully the sun comes back out for the weekend and eventually it'll start warming up. And for those of you that celebrate Easter, I know that's coming up. So I wish to you guys a very happy Easter. That'll be coming up on Sunday. As now I realize that, today is Good Friday. So happy Good Friday to those of you that are celebrating. And yeah. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on Monday.